Hey guys, welcome to another Thursday edition of the Vinyl Den, your channel for record collecting by record collectors. My name is Nick, and this week I'm going to be talking about a kind of an interesting little story I had, a little experience I had on Discogs lately, trying to chase down a very rare record that I've been looking for a long time. If you haven't done so yet, make sure you click on the link below and go check out our Facebook group, and also make sure you subscribe to the channel and give the episode the old thumbs up if you enjoy it. Also, make sure you hit the notification bell so you get alerts every time we release new episodes, which is every Thursday and Sunday. So I was at work about a week ago, and I just happened to get on eBay. I don't even remember what I was on there for, and I was like looking around, and I thought I'd found an album that, like I said, I'd been wanting this album for a long time. It's an album that was released in 1998. In 2000, and it was never pressed on vinyl. In 2010, they finally released it on vinyl, but they only made 500 copies of this. And like I said, I've been looking for it for a long time. It actually hadn't even been listed for sale on Discogs in the last 2 years. And I maybe once a week, I've been getting on Discogs on eBay over the last couple of years, really looking for this album. And I kind of had decided or accepted the fact that I probably was never going to find it. So yeah, I was at work. I got on eBay and I thought I found this album. And I messaged the seller, and it wasn't actually the album. It was actually just like a advertisement that looked like the cover of the album. So once again, I kind of accepted that I probably was never going to own it. And, I just happened I got on Discogs, I was kind of scrolling through, and I remembered that you can, if you go on the release page on Discogs, you can click on people that own this album. And now, granted, like I said, this is an album that there's only 500 copies of it made. And I want to say there was only like 100 people that said they even had this thing on Discogs. There's probably more people that wanted this album on Discogs than actually had it. But if you click on the the box where it says people that for people that actually have it in their collection, it'll give you a list of everyone, at least everyone that has made their collection public. It'll list all their names on there. So I started at the beginning and kind of started scrolling through one by one, looking for people that I had decided as kind of a last-ditch effort to own this thing. I was just going to start blindly messaging people about it. And I started at the top, and I kind of, before I even started, I had some criteria in mind. I wanted to look for somebody that had a larger collection, because if they only had a couple of 100 albums, more than likely they weren't going to want to sell this album. So I was looking for somebody that had several hundred, maybe 1,000 or more albums, and also somebody that was looking or had sold things on Discogs before. Because if they had never sold anything, they're probably not interested in selling anything out of their collection. So I started scrolling through there, and I found maybe, I don't know, probably a dozen people that I decided, these are possibly individuals that may be interested in selling it. Because also I looked through their collections to see if there was anything similar. If they had if most of their albums were kind of the similar kind of genre, probably going to be a little less likely to sell it. So like I said, I found probably about a dozen, and I started messaging them. Hey, I noticed you had this in your collection. I've been looking for it for a long time. Would you be interested in selling it? And, something really short. And I would say most of the people didn't respond to me. Obviously, some just random guy messaging them about an album, especially a really obscure kind of album. But, and then a lot of the responses I did get were, no, just a flat out no, or, hey, I just bought this last couple of years, I'm not interested in selling it. Some people were kind of polite about it. Some people were kind of short, which, I guess I kind of understand. But then there was one guy, and that's all I needed was just one. So I had one guy message me back and say, and this was somebody that I believe had like a pretty extensive collection. I want to say they had like 5,000 or 6,000 albums. Had sold quite a few things on Discogs. But they messaged me back and said, hey, maybe, it depends. What price were you looking for to buy it at? And that was kind of the issue. Was here's an album that 2 years ago sold, the most it's ever sold for on Discogs was $20, which is not a whole lot. When it comes to more collectible albums, rare albums, things like that. And the funny thing was, I was actually working with Ian that night at work, and I was like, I turned to Ian, I said, "Hey, what do you think? What do you think a good number is that I should come back with this guy?" Because my whole thing was, if I come back a little too low, or I try to lowball him, he's probably just going to blow me off and just move on or whatever. But if I come in too high, then I could just end up paying too much for it. So I turned to Ian, I said, because Ian's a little more conservative when it comes to paying for albums. I said, "What do you think?" And Ian's like, "Well, look, if it sold 2 years ago for $20, maybe come back with a $40 offer, doubling it in a couple of years." And I don't know. I felt it was a little too low. At that $40 mark, I was kind of afraid, like I said, if I came back and said $40, the possibility was, I just never hear back from the guy again. So I decided to message him back and say, "Look, I'm willing to pay $60 or $70 for this album," which is probably low for what I'd be willing to pay for it. I probably would have spent maybe almost double that, if he would have really came back and pushed me on it. So I hope he's not listening to this or watching this video. But so I decided to go back and say, "Look, I'll $60 or $70." And it was a little while till he got back to me, maybe an hour or so. He finally messaged me back and says, "Look, I'll do $70 shipped," which I thought was a smoking deal. So I've bought things before, not through eBay or Discogs or something like that. We've just done like an invoice through PayPal or things like this, or things like that. And that's where this kind of story gets a little interesting, at least on my end. So he messaged me back and says, "Look, I'll do $70 shipped," and what I have already done, and because I immediately emailed him back and said, "Sweet, it sounds like a great deal." So he messaged me and said, "Okay, so what I've already done is I've listed it for sale on Discogs." Now, granted, you remember this is an album that hadn't been listed for sale on Discogs for 2 years. So he said, "I listed on Discogs and I put a $100 price tag on it. But I also put a make me an offer button." He says, "So go ahead and put your $70 offer in there and I'll accept it." So I did right away. I put the offer in, sent it, and it sent me a message, said, that the seller had 48 hours to accept the offer or not. And then I didn't hear anything for a while. And the whole time I've got Discogs up at work and I'm like refreshing it like every 5 minutes, waiting to get the bid accepted. Because my fear was, like I said, here's an album that a lot of people want, or I wouldn't say a lot of people, maybe 100 or so people were really looking for, or right around 100 people. An album, there's only 500 of them ever made. So my fear was somebody was going to click on that, buy it for $100 listing, and I would be out this album that I'd looked for literally years. I've been looking for this album. And the last time it was for sale on Discogs was a period where I kind of didn't get on Discogs for a couple of weeks. And I got on, it was like, oh my gosh, that album sold. Or it was listed and sold. And after that time, actually at that point, I had created a separate Discogs account just for this one album to put in my want list, just in case it ever came up. I'd get an email about it, and it wouldn't get lost in the emails that they typically send. So anyway, I put my offer in, and I waited, and I waited, and I waited. And probably about an hour or so later, I finally got a notification that this thing had been accepted. And the whole time I'm sitting there at work thinking, great, that's just my luck. I finally tracked down this album. I put a bid on it, or I get somebody that's willing to sell it to me, and then someone's going to buy it out from underneath me. So like I said, about an hour or so later, to my surprise, I wasn't outbid on this thing, and he accepted my offer, and sent it to me, and I got the shipping notification. I've been tracking it every single day, and surprisingly enough, it went through the postal service, and there wasn't a single delay. This thing got here exactly when it should have, and so I'm going to open it up today on the show. So to a lot of you out there, this is probably going to be an album that you've A, never heard of, and B, of a band that you've probably never heard of either, or never listened to. But they had a couple of minor hits back, like I said, after this album was released in '98. But I don't know. Like I said, it's an album that as soon as I heard it, I fell in love with it. So I'm gonna crack this thing open. Now I haven't opened this up yet. I hope to God this is the right album. If not, we'll see. And hopefully it's not packaged the best, so we'll see. Hopefully it came unharmed. This is like one of the last like big Grail albums I've been looking for. I've been lucky enough over the last couple of years to find a lot of the stuff I'd really been looking for. Probably the last couple of like Grails, if you want to call them that I'm kind of on the hunt for. There's a couple of Less Than Jake albums from the 90s that I'd really love to find. This thing is exactly what it's supposed to be. So this is an album. Here, let me see if I can get out of the sleeve here. This is an album by Spring Heel Jack. It's called Songs from Suburbia. This is a great ska album I guess it's a third wave ska album. From, like I said, it came out in 1998. They had a kind of a smaller hit with the song Jolene. I know it was a video. It was all over. I saw it on TV quite often back in the day. Like I said, there's only 500 of these pressed. Asbestos Records actually did the pressing for it. Kind of cool album art. I know this is available on, like your streaming services. So, I mean, if you want to check it out, if you're a fan of ska music, definitely check this album out. I'm absolutely excited to actually finally have this in my hand. It looks great. It looks like it's never been played. Maybe nice little cleaning. It's got some dust on it, but just straight black pressing. It looks awesome. I can't believe it. Like I said, after several years of trying to track this thing down, that I finally have a copy of it. So that's my crazy little Discogs story. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Drop a comment down below and let me know if you guys have ever done this before, or if there's an album out there that you've been looking for so long that you actually might give this a try. Like I said, go on. If you go on there, try to find the right buyer. And hopefully find an album that you've been looking for a long time. But like I said, if you enjoyed the episode, make sure you give me the old thumbs up, hit the subscribe button down below, and come back and check out the show this Sunday with me and Ian. That's about it. Until next time, keep on spinning. Peace.